Either that or because I'm a terrorist. Maybe I should just wear a balaclava. I'll just give you 5 minutes of Durka Durka. Alright. Oh, here we go. I love it. I mean, anytime they get a chance to defame our veterans, they do. Disgruntled military veterans, not just crazy military veterans, not just baby killers, but now they're disgruntled as well. Department of Homeland Security assesses that right-wing extremists will attempt to recruit and radicalize returning veterans in order to exploit their skills and knowledge derived from military training and combat. These skills and knowledge have the potential to boost the capabilities of extremists, including lone wolves or small terrorist cells, to carry out violence. The willingness of a small percentage of military personnel to join extremist groups during the 1990s because they were disgruntled, disillusioned, or suffering from the psychological effects of war is being replicated today. After Operation Desert Storm in 1990 through 1991, some returning military veterans, including Timothy McVeigh, joined or associated with right-wing extremist groups. A prominent civil rights organization reported in 2006 that large numbers of potentially violent neo-Nazis, skinheads, and other white supremacists are now learning the art of warfare in U.S. armed forces. Again, so let's people who are anti-government, let's throw in the name Timothy McVeigh and neo-Nazi and propaganda machine. That's all they needed to do for the propaganda machine. They could just said 2 sentences instead of 10 pages. But, you know, whatever. The FBI noted in 2008 report that the white supremacist movement that some returning military veterans from the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan have joined extremist groups. What, like the Oath Keepers? Are they an extremist group? Fucking feds. Alright. Lone wolves and small terrorist cells. The DHS assesses that lone wolves and small terrorist cells embracing violent right-wing extremist ideology, as in, like, you know, states' rights, things like that, are the most dangerous domestic terrorism threat in the United States. Information from law enforcement and non-governmental organizations indicates lone wolves and small terrorist cells have shown intent, and in some cases the capability to commit violent acts. I guess because they stockpile weapons. The DHS has concluded that white supremacist lone wolves pose the most significant domestic terrorist threat because of their low profile and autonomy, separate from any formalized group, which hampers warning efforts. Similarly, recent state and municipal law enforcement reporting has warned of the dangers of right-wing extremists embracing the tactics of leaderless resistance and of lone wolves carrying out acts of violence. Arrests in the past several years of radical militia members in Alabama, Arkansas, and Pennsylvania on firearms, explosives, and other related violations indicates the emergence of small, well-armed extremist groups in some rural areas. So, you know, white and clinging to their faith in guns, right? Outlook. And this is, let's see. This is the last page, so we're almost done. Page 80. The DHS assesses that the combination of environmental factors that echo the 1990s, including heightened interest in legislation for tighter firearms restrictions and returning military veterans, as well as several new trends, including an uncertain economy and a perceived rising influence of other countries, may be invigorating right-wing extremist activity, specifically the white supremacist and militia movements. To the extent that these factors persist, right-wing extremism is likely to grow in strength. Oh, okay, that's good. At least that's how they define so broad right-wing extremism. I guess this is basically a war against conservatism, especially, you know, people who are conservative when it comes to the role of government and fiscal responsibility. All right. Oh, here we go. Here's a good, Rockefeller would probably wrote this line. Unlike the earlier period, the advent of the internet and other information age technologies since the 1990s have given domestic extremists greater access to information related to bomb making, weapons training, and tactics, as well as targeting of individuals, organizations, and facilities, potentially making extremist individuals and groups more dangerous and consequences of their violence more severe. New technologies also permit domestic extremists to send and receive encrypted communications and to network with other extremists throughout the country and abroad, making it much more difficult for law enforcement to deter, prevent, or preempt a violent extremist attack. This whole paragraph here that I just read off, it's just, how many times they say extremist, violence, attack, and it's just like dripping. Alright, let's continue. We're almost done. A number of law enforcement actions and external factors were effective in limiting the militia movement during the 1990s and could be utilized in today's climate. Following the 1995 bombing of the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building in Oklahoma City, the militia movement declined in total membership and in the number of organized groups because many members distanced themselves from the movement as a result of the intense scrutiny militias received after the bombing. Militia membership continued to decline after the turn of the millennium as a result of law enforcement disruptions of multiple terrorist plots linked to violent right-wing extremists, new legislation banning paramilitary training, and militia frustration that the revolution never materialized. Although the U.S. economy experienced a significant recovery and many perceived a rise in U.S. standing in the world, white supremacist groups continue to experience slight growth. The DHS will be working with its state and local partners over the next several months to ascertain with greater regional specificity the rise in right-wing extremist activity in the United States, with particular emphasis on the political, Republicans, conservatives, libertarians, economic and social factors that drive right-wing extremist radicalization. And then I think the rest is just a reporting notice. And they give a telephone number. Maybe I should turn myself in. Alright. Go ahead and take off my weird serial killer shine glasses. Alright, basically what's going on here, again, they do have valid concerns. Because I do not support or condone anything that a guy like Timothy McVeigh did. I don't know what his ideologies were specifically. I guess they say he was angered by the Ruby Ridge, Waco, Texas incidents, and so he blew up a federal building. No, I don't support that. That was an act of terrorism. So they're obviously concerned about that, and I do concede that that's a legitimate concern. However, what bothers me is what they labeled as a right-wing extremist. It's pretty broad. It's pretty fucking broad. And they never really, that's the thing, these things are so broad, so vague, that it can mean any number of things. Right? And I've heard, I know there's a lot of talk on here, but it's like, what are they actually looking for? I'd like them to know, explain exactly who they're looking for. Is it you? Is it me? Apparently I'm technically a right-wing extremist because I'm anti-government since they become just mad with power, going for a power grab. I guess that makes me a right-wing extremist, and by extension means I'm not a law-abiding citizen. Is that what that means? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if that was their intent, but I think it was. I think it's a message, obviously.